Okay, so it's 10 past midnight and I've just finished watching the first semi-final of France's national final. I'm just coming straight off it, so screw the intro, let's just go straight into my notes that I've been making throughout the show, instead of actually watching what's on screen. So I've only watched the French national final once last year, and I was very pleasantly surprised by it. Both by the presentation, the good, expensive feeling of it all, as well as the acts and the songs. There's like 5 or 6 songs now on my playlist on Spotify. So it's definitely got some form of appeal to me. I think there's something about the contemporary French music that really gets to me somehow. I blame my sister. So I'm just going to go straight into the first act, as I did on the show. Maestro. I like the dual voice style that he had. Yes, I liked Caesar back in, what was it, 2013? You know, It's My Life. I mean, it's a classic, it's a banger, you can't deny it. Alma is a part of the songwriting team for this song, which I was very interested in when it came up to. The backing singers did have a interesting dress code, kept from 2018's Eurovision. Nice turtleneck, nice all black, trying to blend in with the background. He didn't use the dual voice thing in his actual song, which is a shame, but also not, because, you know, it could have also just been a gimmick, like in César's song. God bless his soul, he's amazing. It's good, but nothing is truly grabbing. That was really the case for most of these songs. I don't know if it was like a production problem. It was probably a technical problem in terms with the microphones that were there, but anyway, I'll get to that in later songs. As soon as this first song kicked off, I knew that the staging, the lighting, the mise en scène, as they kept on saying, obviously, was absolutely out of this world again. Nothing like I'll see at the UK national final, nothing even close, which is a shame because we're a very good country at that type of thing. Anyway, I'm just having a little bit of a rant to myself because it's just not fair, is it? I was probably agreeing with what the judges were saying, but I had no idea what they were saying. In terms of my preference throughout this entire thing, I seem to side more with the jury than the French audience. But again, we'll get to that later. Next is Florina giving an Edith Piaf contemporary lilt vocally. She had a strong voice, I'd say, slight struggle in the higher notes and chest voice, but like in in head voice, I think that'd be a little bit more clearer, a little bit more strong, more confident. The first impression of the song was definitely a chandelier sung by a French Ariana Grande. Don't know why, I think there was something about the instrumentation. And then it kind of went downhill from there in terms of my opinion of the song, which is a shame. She could have benefited from not being so static. It would have made a whole situation better. Her high notes again was struggled and then belted, so I didn't have that much control to them. And I have no idea what was happening with those hand cloths, those black hand cloths. I mean, I understood the confetti, but whatever was in her hand didn't really make sense. If it was like bigger and more exaggerated and like flowing, I don't know, silk? I've forgotten what the texture, I've forgotten what the fabric's called. Oh, that's bad. Anyway, you know what I mean. Something that's more exaggerated, something more contemporary. The song was contemporary and quite strong, good for Eurovision, but not very French. Which is a very important part, I'd say, in this entire thing. Does it feel French? But in this one, didn't really feel French to me. Quite a lot of the ones last year did. Anyway, moving on to... Great, now I get to go and say names wrong, even though I watched the show. Chimène Badi, another contemporary Edith Piaf take. She had a lower voice than I thought she would, more in the alto range, but I think that's more an advantage because it's different. It's unique in these types of things, and you know, she's going to give that nice, mature, developed, experienced voice to this whole thing, which is a very good trait. The song, one thing before I get into this song, I should notice that every single one of these shots where I saw the headphones in the studios were all Beyerdynamic headphones. Beyerdynamic headphones are also present in Radio 1's Live Lounge, which is very interesting, even though I swear that the ones they were using were open-backed, which means sound leaks out of it pretty easily, which doesn't make sense to me at all. But anyway, that's just a technical point if you're ever interested. No one ever is. This was another situation where I realised that the national final staging, just bloody great. I literally wrote down, bloody great. It's a good pop ballad, may slip through the minds of some people at ESC, I've got to say, but it definitely caught the audience's attention, that's for sure. There was a diva moment, there was a diva note at the end, as you all heard, but not in the main chorus, not in the third chorus, I should say. But it was just cut short, but again, that's probably because of the natural range of this singer. Oh boy, we're already at 5 minutes, are we? That's great. Okay, Batista Aquaviva, lovely name. That's a very interesting name, I love it. Breathy, delicate vocals, unique and high in quality, but was hard to hear over the backing in the cover section. And then the song came on, and it, yeah, you heard that, right? This is not just me, I heard that. Did you hear that? Because I definitely heard and saw it. It's a song that definitely calls for the return of the orchestra to the Eurovision Song Contest. Ancient Greek and Roman vibes off the charts in all the staging and the men. It's contemporary, more French, I'd say, even though I'd say it's more Roman and Greek. But the voice doesn't fully match what was happening musically. I think she had the right type of voice, but she didn't have the right power over it. Again, it could have been a technical issue that messed her up. There was many comments that that could have been the problem throughout. But again, I don't know. I feel like there's something else behind that. I hate to say it. I mean, I like the performance in some aspects, but like, what were those men doing? They were just doing some form of contemporary interpretational dance on stairs. Again, it was kind of the problem of having a static setting, not much movement, and I think that really affected it as well. I was left torn at the end of this, because I liked it and didn't, but I wanted it to do well in the end. And then Sylvain Rek came on. Both of the males so far in this competition kept it unique and interesting with their cover songs. French rap working well, it definitely suits that style, especially if you keep it contemporary and mature as Sylvain did. And then Toxing for the most part of this song, but I really, really did like the staging and the camera work, the way that was achieved. I don't know if it would really work at ESC, but in that moment, it definitely did, and it definitely engaged with the audience, both at home and on stage, because there was a nice treadmill bit. Love it. The song, I don't know, rap really doesn't really work that much in Eurovision, even if it's in a foreign language. I mean, it did for Hungary one year, but it's a bit hit and miss. I mean, I'm not going to say Dav Samson, but I am going to say Daz Samson, because do you remember him? I wish I didn't. Anyway, moving on to the next song, it was, of course, Bilal Hassani. Love the androgynous look. I love the song choice too. I love some Stromae. Not static either on the stage, thank God. I definitely kept it in my good books for the start, and then the actual song came on, Madame Monsieur being part of the songwriters. It was a promising start, a promising middle, and a promising end. So I'm pretty sure I didn't like it. It had a audience start, so I think that could be something that can transpose to the Eurovision stage. It was dual language, but it was one of these dual language songs where you could clearly define which bits were English and which bits were French, and it wasn't just one smashed together, and you could like, was that English? And then you realise 5 seconds later it was, and the moment's gone. It was contemporary, it was French, and it was fierce, and it was also young and powerful, and it also stayed right in his range, so he didn't have to reach too far to get to notes, so it struggled a little bit, but I think that worked in the benefit of the song and as the performer, and yeah, that was a pretty good banger. Then next was ASAT, taking the moving to the music to the next level, literally going into the audience for Dancing Queen. Not so strong on the low notes, but definitely has a defined style in the way that she sings. And the actual song shows the cultural diversity of what is considered French in terms of musicality. I definitely enjoyed that bit. And there were some hard-hitting beats in this moment. I definitely think it's something I'd see on my music playlists. I listened to the studio version. Maybe it could do with a few tweaks here and there to make it more hard-hitting, but that's just me being picky. It should not end as it ended. It ended kind of like on a fade-out, and I felt that was a little bit too awkward. It's one of those songs you've just got to end on a, like, just instantly. It also would work very well in the 3-minute gap, because then that would define the end, no problem. Lautner, not Taylor, gave me a very Samir and Victor vibe at the beginning, but then broke through that with the harmonization, the vocalization, and the genres that they tend to lean to. I thought it was a little bit risky to try and go for Amir as their cover song, but the ability to harmonize on the moment gave it more character, and had a good amount of connection between those two. Now the actual song, rebacking it up a bit, having an electrical violin on stage, not bad, not bad. It was a little bit tense in the body whilst he was doing that, so I think that could have been loosened up a little bit to make it feel a little bit more natural and welcoming, and less, oh my god, I'm on stage on national television. And then there's a little bit moments in between the songs where I just realised they didn't really have much camera charisma. They looked at the cameras, but they were looking at the cameras in a dead-faced way, like they weren't looking at anyone. They were just looking at a lens. That's how it felt to me. There was kind of like a dead-faced look, but not to each other, just to the camera. They connected together, but they didn't connect to us. And I think that's really where they fell down a little bit. But otherwise, I enjoyed the groove of the song. I enjoyed the chorus. If it had a better falsetto in the moment, it would have been better. And I like the colour scheme too in the background. Skateboarding. Why not? I didn't do it. Sounds fun though. And last but definitely not least for me is Mazzy? I should have listened in the moment, but there was a lot of French and I took Spanish at school instead, so that's a bit useless for me, isn't it? I like her aesthetic, I like her emotional voice and the way that she can sing sad but powerful well. I can definitely hear that in her intentions. Now, the first two notes that I've got on this song are French and contemporary French. Very, very French in this one, almost making up for the ones that weren't so French in the previous songs. I think the staging was very, very nice, quite Swedish, I'd say, but for the first half of the song, she was very static. She was just standing in the middle of the cube, not really doing much, so I think maybe playing with the levels there would have really helped her out. And the drumming part, I did enjoy that, but I imagine that having more of an epic feel if they had more people on stage surrounding the cubes with actual drums. That would have been bigger and better. Love, love, peace, peace style, you know how it is. And so, we got to the results. The 4 people that I wanted to go through, the 3 for definite were Bilal, Aysat and Mazzy. Yet again, we fall down at the pronunciation of names. And then the 4th one I was really struggling on, because the rest of them were kind of on the same level. I ended up going with Lautner for some reason. I don't know what attracted me, maybe the contemporary style, maybe the promise that it had if it went further on in the competition. So, the notes that I have about the actual results, the public and the jury disagree yet again. What a surprise! I mean, I should really expected it, and I did expect it whilst they were calling out the jury ones. I was wondering which ones would plummet. But this time, the jury did have a win, did have a point, because they managed to save Aysat, despite the fact that she had the lowest televoting score, which I enjoyed, because obviously I wanted her to go through. I was surprised at Sylvain, but I completely get why, because there was definitely some form of charm to the performance in both what he did and what the camera did. In the end, we have 4 diverse songs in culture, in genre, and in performance, and I hope that we get this from semi-final 2. I haven't listened to any of the songs yet. I'm just gonna plow my way through to next week and not listen to them as much as possible, but in the meantime, I'm going to try and get more work done on this actual channel. That'd be a smart move, wouldn't it? Anyway, thank you very much for listening to my very late ramblings. I'm going to go ahead and edit this now and then go to bed, hopefully. So, hopefully I get a nice little bit of sleep before I actually listen to this back and realize how much of a shambles it is. Anyway, hope your life's going well. Thanks for listening. See you next time.